Welcome back to Cure of the Common Game. Today, in deck number 943, we're going to talk about Skrelv, the Defector Mite. I think that's how we say that. Before we do it, I want to give a huge shout out to the patrons. Thank y'all so much. And to our partner, Dragon Shield. This deck is in matte silver. So that is what the deck is. Appreciate Dragon Shield for helping out. But let's look at Skrelv. We have a one-mana commander. Now, that doesn't happen a lot. But generally, when it happens, it's either white or colorless, right? So anyway, maybe sometimes green. For one mana, we'll get a 1-1 with Toxic 1. Yeah, it can't block because it's pretty much a legendary version of those tokens that all the cards make. And you can spend a Phyrexian white and tap it. Choose a color, another target creature. You could another, not it. Gains Toxic 1 and Hexproof from that color until end of turn it can't be blocked by. So, a little bit of ways to get in there, right? This is just a good old-fashioned white weenie deck. There's some not weenies in here. I have... Well, let's get to it, shall we? First, let's look at our ramp. Now, I could have gone the toxic route. I did include a lot of toxic, a lot of infect, because that's another win condition. Why cross it off, right? But not everything is toxic. So we have our Soul Ring, the Mind Stone, Burnished Heart, Pristine Talisman, Marble Diamond. Those are things that are pretty much, standard. But a Plague Mirror. It's a mana dork, but it's also a 1-1 with Infect. Core Cartographer. It is a 2-2 for 4. It does get you, it does a fairly decent Wood Elf impersonation. And it's a body. And a lot of times, just white weenie bodies is what we need. Weathered Wayfarer. Love this reprint. There. Weathered Wayfarer, we just... Now, I know it's not ramp, because it just puts the land into your hand. However, how does never missing a land drop sound to you in mono white? Right? Oh, by the way, I do apologize. I've got some voice issues going on, so that's why I don't quite sound the same. I may sound the same to y'all, but as it rattles around in my head, it doesn't. I like the Phyrexian Atlas. It is another 3-mana rock that taps to add a color, but each opponent who has 3 or more poison counters loses a life, so that's an extra added bonus there. And then a good old Gauntlet of Power, because we might as well, blanket give +1 to all our dudes, right? Well, let's look at our dudes. As I said, I tried to use things that worked well with poison, as well as delivering poison. Incisor Glider has corrupted. The Phyrexian Digester, good old-fashioned Infect, is hard to beat. Kenneth, when the commander attacks, the dream is commander on turn 1, Kenneth on turn 2, swing with commander, and it just keeps getting bigger, right? That's the dream. Will it ever happen? Probably not. But it's in there for that purpose. Tine Shrike has flying and infect. I really, really like flying. I did kind of value flying in this deck above all others. Shriek Raptor, I know it's a 2-3 flyer for 5 mana, but it's a flying infect. Priest of Norn has vigilance and infect. Jawbone Duelist, double strike and toxic 1. Now that is not bad at all. Doom Mover, Crawling Chorus, Core Prowler. And not only is this a 2-2 with Infect, when it dies, you get to proliferate. So, Lost Leonin, Basilica Shepherd. That's not a bad one because it makes more mites. Apostle of Invasion. It has double strike as long as somebody it is corrupted. That's pretty good, yo. Indoctrination Attendant, Toxic 1. Skrelv's Hive. Now, I know that this is not a creature, but it does make creature. I mean, it's as close as White's going to get to a Bitter Blossom, right? I mean, we take the life, we get the 1/1. It doesn't fly, it can't block, but I mean, White doesn't get the good stuff. But it does continually make attackers, as well as Charge of the Mites. Now, in this deck, Charge of the Mites is not just make 2 dudes, it's also deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control with target creature planeswalker. So that is pretty good in and of itself, right? Then we've got some other creatures. I figure since we were going to be popping creatures, especially those mites, over and over, the Soul Warden, Suture Priest was probably pretty good. Orzhov Advocist helped beefing up our commander. Mikaeus the Lunarch. I know, right? On your team. On your whole team. So, yeah, that's really, really good. And I'll admit, I was not responsible. I mean, I put a Baneslayer in there because why not? And Sarah's Emissary. This is just a beating. I've always said for 7 mana, spells should win you the game. This one does. It straight up does. Because if you are playing in a creature-heavy deck, you can pick your time to play it where opponents are tapped out. You choose creatures. Your creatures become unblockable because they all have protection from creatures. It's silly, silly, silly. I've got some make creatures bigger pile. We have Sarah's Embrace, because that is exactly what Sarah would embrace, is a little Defector Mite, right? Ring of Thune, I know it's weak. It would be a sword of something, something if I had it, but it does also grant vigilance. Probably not the best for creatures that can't block, but we have a lot of other creatures that can. A Benelish Marshal, because it's a dude, and it just pumps your whole team. Armored Ascension, wow, mono white. Even if we just slapped this on any of our little dudes with Infect, that's game pretty quick. Glorious Anthem, Tempered Steel, because our mites are artifacts. Infested Flesh Cutter, just attack trigger. It gets one. And then Kayla's Command for those sweet, sweet 1/1 counter and double strike to end of turn. Okay, sign me up. Swiftfoot Boots, obviously to protect whatever we need protecting at the time. Spirit Mantle, another protection from creatures card. And then Glory. It's hard for me to consider Glory a creature because you want it dead. You want it in the graveyard. So I typically, white doesn't have the draw discard effects that red has or a lot of the other colors have, but I'm pretty fast and loose with Glory. I will run it out there and just get super aggro with it. And once somebody's tired of taking 3, they'll kill it. They'll block it. And when they do, the fun starts. Have Windborn Muse for obvious reasons. Paying 2, the Ghostly Prison to go with it, the Norn's Annex. I know Defense Grid looks a little sketchy, right? Yes, we do have instants. Other decks are going to have way more than we have. The counter deck, the removal deck, they're going to have way more than we have. So it is kind of one of those things you get to pick and choose. Holy Day, Rootborn Defenses, because that's the biggest thing for the white weenie deck is, oh, look, a board wipe ruins my day. Speaking of board wipes, we have a few. A Fumigate, Wrath of God, Phyrexian Rebirth. It's really cool that the Fire Exchange Rebirth token is an artifact, so that's cool. Um, White Sun's Twilight I have in here as a removal spell. This is silly good. I don't think I read Gain X Life when I was playing this in the pre-release because I was just so stoked to be getting the mites and destroying the other creatures. I mean, it does three good things that White wants to do: gain life, make dudes, kill all the other things. I mean, this is a beast of a card. Um, Vow Duty, removal, not removal. There again, if it's not my problem, it's not a problem. And then regular, good old fashioned removal, condemn, sword of plowshares, dispatch, return to dust, and of course disenchant. Which leaves us with our last card, Drifting Meadows. Yeah, if I had a Emeria the Sky Ruin, the Emeria land, it would totally be in here because I mean mono white decks just need that card, right? So that is what I have got for Skrelv. I do appreciate y'all watching, liking, sharing, and if you hadn't, go ahead and do that. And 11 minutes in, if you haven't subscribed yet, feel free to subscribe right down below. But until next time, we're going to shuffle and cut.